Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Unwokable Podcast. Well, I'm pretty pissed off. You should be pissed off too, because guess what? The Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse can't define the word woman. They can't define the word man. They can't, and they're using the term genderqueer and promoting that to youth-aged or transition-aged youth. That's what's happening in your Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. And this connects directly to our Democratic candidates for governor and for state superintendent. So, if you haven't heard Joy Hofmeister and Jena Nelson say over and over and over again, they're pushing mental health, they're pushing mental health, they're pushing mental health. I'm going to show you exactly what they mean when they say they want mental health in schools. What the agenda is here. Because they're partnering with mental health and substance abuse, the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, to increase counselors and increase mental and behavioral health professionals in schools by double. They're putting $35 million worth of ARPA money into this process. So I'm a little dressed down today because I'm a little pissed off. Because, because it's election season, I'm not sure this isn't getting the air that it's supposed to. And because there's been a concerted effort from people on both sides of the uniparty here to make my voice not as accessible to people or not as believable to people. But I'm going to show you the facts. And what you should do is take the video and share it if you can see the facts that I'm showing you are correct. But this underscores why we absolutely cannot allow Joy Hofmeister and Jena Nelson to be elected to these positions that they're running for. And it underscores the fact that once Governor Stitt wins re-election, he needs to take charge of his departments. Because they are pushing a mental health agenda that's explicitly rooted in transitioning your kids by funneling them through the child transition industrial complex. You understand what I'm saying? This is real. This is documented. I'm going to take you through the website after I take you through my article here that I wrote. And I don't want to really hear crap about, it's election time and Governor Stitt's going to do... Okay, I'm not pointing this at Governor Stitt. It's his department. But the man can only do so much. So I'm letting him know what's in his department and what Joy Hofmeister and Jena Nelson intend to do with that department if they were to win this election. So if you appreciate the work I'm giving you, the work I'm doing and the information I'm giving you and about to give you, please like, subscribe, share the channel, and super chats are open. That's a way to donate to me to support what I'm doing. It's the only thing I've got right now, so I would appreciate that. And you can comment into the stream. And for any people that may be watching that may be upset about what I'm presenting today, screw you. This is the truth. I have uncovered evidence that is pretty ironclad, and that I have people that were my friends going in and trying to actively knock down my videos and knock down my spread on social media. Screw you. I don't give it. I really don't care. Because this is the truth. I'm going to present information. If that's so threatening to you, why? If it's so threatening to you that you have to go in and mine my information, my content, my intellectual property, and whittle it down and give it to other people so they can use it on larger platforms so they can claim rights to it so you can eliminate my spread and the work that I've done, screw you. I'm done. But this should upset everyone. It underscores why you cannot have a Joy Hofmeister governorship. It underscores why you cannot have a Jena Nelson state superintendency. Okay? So I'm going to outline this because this is what they intend to do. All right, we're going to start from the beginning. So the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse endorses term genderqueer. Does that sound familiar? Like the book that they're passing around schools that Summer Boimier gave a link to that everybody was so up in arms about? And incorrectly defines woman for Oklahoma's transition-age youth. Democratic candidates Joy Hofmeister and Jena Nelson endorse radical gender ideology in Oklahoma schools via calls for increased Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse influence. The Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, ODMHSAS, my gosh, website links to gender identity and expression map that incorrectly defines the words woman and man and endorses the term genderqueer for Oklahoma transition age youth. Okay, so here's a screenshot from the website right here. Okay, so this is the website, and here's the link to the website if you want to go in. Let me share my actual article here with you guys so you can go read it because it's being ignored right now for some odd reason. When the last time I brought up something like this, it made it hay, but guess what? The gatekeepers on both sides have a vested interest in keeping certain information out of the public eye. So here is the information. The Transition Age Youth page of the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health states, ODMHSAS partners with treatment services providers who provide treatment and support for emotional, mental, and behavioral health illnesses, imbalances, and disorders, as well as help for substance use, and co-occurring disorders, both mental and substance use disorders. In addition, we provide access to services and support for homeless, juvenile justice, drug court, or child welfare issues, long-term and outpatient behavioral health services. Keep hold of that for a second. And first episode psychosis treatments. But upon further examination of the resources offered on the page, so all of that sounds great, right? If the kids are in trouble, you want to have apparatuses to help them, especially if they're homeless, especially if they're orphaned, especially if they don't have a strong home life. Okay? That makes sense. But again, you have to understand something, that these kids that they're working with are already what they call trauma induced. They have traumatic backgrounds and are very influenced. They can be influenced very easily. Even more so than a regular kid their age. Right? So I continue with the article. But upon further examination of the resources offered on the webpage, the radical intention behind the word transition becomes all too apparent. Under the resources portion of the page, there is a link to a gender identity and expression map that endorses tenets of radical gender ideology as the second resource it offered to assist transition-aged youth. The website indicates that it was last modified by the department on March 9th, 2022. So just a few months ago. The gender identity and expression map, it's found right here. So this is the bottom of the page. It's found right here. Transition age youth brochure. And the next damn thing is the gender identity and expression map. So this is what it looks like. This is the front page of it. The gender identity and expression map links to Prezi.com presentation detailing exactly what behavioral health and mental health professionals within ODMHSAS intend to teach Oklahoma transition-aged youth about sex and gender. So, these people are partnering with your K through 12 schools under Joy Hofmeister's regime as state superintendent. So understand this. Now, there are many terms used in the presentation such as butch, bear, drag queen that seek to push influence youth who have already suffered other forms of trauma down the road of a radical gender ideology. Ideology. But the three that stand out the most are the factually and biologically incorrect definitions for woman and man, and then genderqueer. I need to fix that. But look, this is the definitions that they bring for the word woman. Now, if you watched Matt Walsh's What is a Woman? Again, this is on Oklahoma's Mental Health and Substance Abuse Department's website. Definitions of the words woman and man. Man, a person who has a male or masculine gender identity. So that can be a woman if so choose. Woman, a person who has a female or feminine gender identity. I believe Matt Walsh and the dictionary defines woman as an adult female. But it gets better. Another concerning word that appears on the website, on the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse website, has been the subject of much scandal in Oklahoma and across the country. Genderqueer. This term, also the title of a book that many schools across the country have labeled pornography. Genderqueer, an umbrella term used to describe people whose gender falls outside of the gender binary masculine-feminine. So anyone, regardless of your sex organs, can define themselves as a man or a woman if they define themselves as masculine. But genderqueer says you can go outside the balance of masculine and feminine and go that direction. The Oklahoma State Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. Now, let's connect this directly to Joy Hofmeister and Jena Nelson. Democratic candidates for Governor Joy Hofmeister and Superintendent candidate Jena Nelson have openly and consistently called for an expansion of behavioral mental health positions in Oklahoma public schools, all in active partnership with the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, as was made clear in Hofmeister's 2021 announcement of the Oklahoma School Counselor Corps. Funds from the American Rescue Plan will help, and this is from her announcement. Funds from the American Rescue Plan, ARPA, will help fund additional school counselors, licensed school-based mental health professionals, social workers, and recreational therapists. Oklahoma's current student-to-school counselor ratio, this was out of 2021, is 411 to 1. But the American School Counselors Association, which if you're following Courage is a Habit, you should, if you're not, you should be, because they did a whole big thing about this, recommends a ratio of 250 to 1, said Hofmeister. Adding school-based mental health professionals trained in evidence-based practices, is there evidence for any of this up here? But this is from the the statement, adding school-based mental health professionals trained in evidence-based practices is a pillar of any holistic approach to student success, according to Carrie Slayton Hodge, Oklahoma's Commissioner for Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. So she was quoted in, the head of mental health and substance abuse was quoted in Governor Hofmeister, or excuse me, no, don't say that, Superintendent Hofmeister's announcement for this $35 million of ARPA money to go towards hiring more ASCA certified school counselors that will push this agenda on your kids. Here's the proof. According to Alvin Louis, president of Courage is a Habit, ASCA certified school counselors are trained to push the exact same radical gender ideology on Oklahoma K-12 students that is promoted on the ODMHSAS website, so the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. ASCA is training school counselors, and this is from Courage is a Habit. ASCA is training school counselors to indoctrinate children towards CRT and the transgender cult. This is taken directly from their schedule of sessions as a part of ASCA 2022 conference. The quote here is, it is an expectation, not the exception, for school counselors to integrate multiculturalism and social justice perspectives into their work as advocates and leaders. In those points are: become an LGBTQ inclusive school. Okay? What does that mean? It means that you're going to have counselors not just accepting people for who they are, but convincing people there's something they're not. And that's reinforced right down here as LGBTQ plus school counselors and affinity groups. In the recent Oklahoma gubernatorial debate, Hofmeister made a point to link education with mental health and advocated for a further increase in funding for school counselors and medical/mental health professionals. This is a quote from the debate. What we need is more people on the team, like school counselors. We need a governor who understands the connections between people, teachers who are trained, resource and ready on day one to meet the needs of children who have very incredibly deep needs today. This is all woke speak. Hofmeister and her handpicked successor for State Superintendent Jena Nelson have gone out of their way to make mental health a focus of their campaign, doing all they can to pull at the heartstrings of Oklahoma voters, to weaponize your empathy. But despite the fact that they both present themselves as social moderates in the raging culture war, the information found on the Oklahoma State Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse website, combined with their goal to expand the website's the department's influence in Oklahoma public schools, strongly indicates otherwise. In short, Joy Hofmeister and Jena Nelson really want to identify as moderates, but in reality, nothing can change the objective truth of their radical intentions for Oklahoma: transitioned aged youth. So, I think we should just take you through the map. What do you think? Are you interested in that? I seem to have less people today than normal. Look, Governor Stitt is not going to lose this election. I really don't believe it. He had a rough debate performance, but he held his own. He's the only person that we can have in this office. And I want to back up what I'm saying about Governor Stitt for a second in terms of his election. The generic ballot for Republicans across the country is up like 15 points, which is unheard of. There was a 32-point shift in independent women towards Republicans nationwide. 31, I believe, shift from Democrat and independent women to Republicans. But we have to make sure that Joy Hofmeister and Jenna Nelson, especially Jenna Nelson, too, well, both of them, in equal measure, do not win this election, because this is what will continue. So you got to get out and vote. But you have to be aware of this stuff, because this is in a department that Governor Stitt needs to pay a little more attention to when he wins re-election. So I'm going to take you through the website. So you can see for yourself that I'm not lying to you. Just copy it here. Look, you can do the same thing. Follow along with me. The lurkers I have watching right now. So this is Transitioned Age Youth page on the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse website. Behavioral health illnesses. Just emotional, mental, behavioral health, illnesses, imbalances, disorders. So I read that to you. But I wanted to show you this. See this? Community support, social services, educational services, vocational services, mental health services, substance abuse services, health services, recreational services, juvenile justice services, community support. Just so you know that education is lumped in there from the get-go. Now, if you go all the way down, here we go. This is what I showed you. Gender identity and expression map. It's a Prezi presentation from March 9, 2018. This is fair use. It's on a public state website. So here's the whole map. Let's go through. Click. So here is the overall map. Sex does not equal gender. Pretty clear? Again, I'm going to do this. Look. Wait, you can't see it. Sorry, I put the wrong thing up. Ha-ha. So this is the website I clicked on, and now I've got to share it with you. Hold on. Although the people watching me right now didn't seem to let me know. Comment, guys. Don't just lurk. So here's the presentation. So I'm going to hit this back button one more time. Look, just to make this very clear where this comes from. Oh. Okay, you see this? This is the website. And this is the Prezi presentation. This is the map. Very intricate. Very confusing. Gender is complicated. A lot of us, and this is just straight out of radical gender ideology. This is radical gender ideology. This is what is being taught to your kids in school. This map intends to provide a general map of gender identities and expressions that people use with their definitions. Gender is complicated, but that's okay. It probably looks pretty complicated, yeah. It's designed to mess with the mind. Sex is what is often referred to as birth sex. It is the sex assigned to the child at birth. Okay, it's not assigned, it is what it is. It's objectively verifiable. Like chromosomes, XY, XY. So getting into the science here and the biology of it. But they remove gender from sex. Gender identity is how you feel inside and identify yourself. Mind over matter. Nihilistic belief that you can change the outside world if you but believe enough on the inside. It's called faith. But this faith is put into action because what faith without works is dead, right? Well, this new faith comes with surgery. This new faith comes with puberty blockers. This new faith comes with all of those things. Gender expression. All the external characteristics that they're going to change. Masculinity, a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles that gender. So I'm not going to, if I were to go through all this, it would take a long, long time. And I'm sure what's going to happen here is at a different time, somebody's going to find this and it's going to be a breaking story because nobody's. It's amazing. For 2 years, I've been going through that. Just of people calling me, like Linda Murphy. Calling me and spending hours and hours and hours on the phone with me. To get all the information. Like Brandon Dutcher of OCPA. Hours and hours on the phone. Who now don't want to listen to anything I have to say. To get all the information they want. But I'm bringing this to you now. Because they won't. But here's the map. On the Oklahoma website. Oklahoma Department of Mental Health website. But let's get to both. This is radical gender ideology, as Chris Rufo would call it. It's queer theory, which is a better term. James Lindsay would call it that. But look, see for yourself. This is what the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse intends to inject into your school via ASCA-trained school counselors. Now, I talked to Frank Keating on the phone about all of this. Did you know that? About DEI, I worked with him and other public officials for months to try to get this out of OU and DEI and all of this. And what they do? They funded it behind my back. And your back. And put tons of money into unifying this medical apparatus that's going to push this on kids in your school. But look. But this is why Jena Nelson cannot be state superintendent. This is why Joy Hofmeister cannot be governor. Because all of this was implemented under her watch 8 years ago. And it's being funneled into schools. But look at this for just 1 second. So to go back, I'm taking this from the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health website, guys. So Chase is here. Thank you, Chase. Nice to see you. Facebook user, I don't know who you are because you're not on YouTube. I can't see you. Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, who Joy Hofmeister's partnered with to put in more school counselors to teach this ideology. This is from their page, under their transition age youth page. So let's move forward. This was femininity. If you go to my article, guys, it's there. You can get my, hi Julia. You can get all the links that I'm showing you here in the article that I posted at the beginning. Okay, so non-binary, all this stuff. But just let me show you again for those of you who just popped in. I'll just go back. This is where I started. This is where I went. This is the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. Transition Age Youth, which couches itself like this. You go down to Resources. Gender Identity and Expression Map. This is what it brings up. Chase, I don't know who you are and why you're blocked on Twitter. So I would like, what's your Twitter handle? That would be information I would need to remedy that situation. It's on Substack. I posted it in this chat. If you go into the chat, I'll find it and post it for you again. But I don't want to take too much time. If you go to my Substack, unwokeable.substack.com, it's the most recent article. All right, so moving forward. This is what it takes you through. Gender is complicated. They try to make it complicated. Sex does not equal gender. Can't get more clear than that. Moving forward, but I want to take you through, so gender identity, gender expression, masculinity, femininity, both, neither. Look, femininity is socially constructed. It is socially constructed. They want to be very clear about that. And they use the example color pink, but they extend this way beyond colors. So, here's where it defines woman. A person who has a female or feminine gender identity. So I have my Helen Cole Republican Women's Club mug here. Anybody from the Helen Cole Republican Women's Club, or any Republican Women's Club across the state, what do you think of this definition of the word woman offered by your Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse website to transition-aged youth? I would like to know. If anybody knows any of them, send them this video. Because I'd like to know. I think that they would say, this is not the definition of a woman. Don't you think? The dictionary definition of a woman is a female adult, an adult female. So, there you go. Cisgendered woman. And so now we get into all of the wonderful terms that they're going to, okay, transsexual woman. Okay. Femme queen. Yeah, if they kept it to the terms that, were just normal, even just like transsexual, that's in the, but we're going to get into a bunch of different terms here, guys. Drag queen. This is from 2018, by the way. And it has been on the site since at least 2018. And here goes my internet. Awesome. Lipstick lesbian. A lesbian, bisexual, or queer identified woman whose gender expression is more stereotypically feminine. High femme. Twink. No, masculinity. Again, they say that this socially constructed has nothing to do with your biology. A person who has a male or masculine gender identity. Cisgendered man, which is not a thing, means just a man. Female to male. Oklahoma State Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. Transition-age youth. Bear. Banji. A person whose gender expression is stereotypically masculine in attire, attitude, or behavior. Usually a term for men who have sex with men. The term originated from African American, Puerto Rican communities in New York during the the 1980s. This is all state sponsored, Oklahoma state sponsored terminology. Butch. You know, some of these books have been complained about, by the way. Tomboy. Okay. Boy with an I. I can't go through all of this because it would take a long, long time. Bulldyke. These are really important terms for homeless kids and kids in mental distress to know. So much so that it's the second possible resource. GenderQueer. Does this sound familiar? Yeah? Yeah? Wasn't there just big brouhaha about this? Note, the term queer is a broader umbrella term that encompasses people whose gender and or sexual identity falls outside the sex, gender, and sexuality binaries. This term is sometimes derogatory. Use this term for people who choose to identify with it, as historically it has been used as a slur against LGBT people. Gender nonconforming. Intergender. Combination. Bigender. Multiple. So, okay, I'm not even going to go there. Gender fluid. Because my whole point to this is to show you that this is on two-spirit. A person who processes qualities or fulfills roles of both genders. Traditionally used in Native American cultures. Yes, it's been in longer than 2018. But I'm saying it's been on the Oklahoma State Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse website since at least 2018. That's my point. So I'm just going to take you through all of this relatively quickly. You can look at my article to bring it up. And this is going to get no play before the election, or maybe even after, because the powers that be don't want it to. So you, those who are watching, should share the video. Share the article. It's a reason why Joy Hofmeister shouldn't be governor. It's a reason why Jena Nelson shouldn't be state superintendent. And if people have a problem with this information coming out, that's an indication that maybe they think it can hurt their candidate. And then you should ask yourself, why? Okay, just a little more confusion here. You can hold multiple gender identities. Gender nonconforming women. Genderqueer femme. Remember, this is your gender. Your sense of yourself and your expression of that self. They at least admit it's confusing, but it's designed to be confusing. What's missing? Guys, this is what Joy Hofmeister and Jena Nelson intend to inject in your schools with ARPA money for school counselors, with ARPA money for school counselors, because that's the ideology that they're trained to push. And either you want to do something about it or you don't. Either you're going to do something about it or you won't, or you're not. I don't see a half measure here. But I'm sure the politicians will find their way to one that will enable this to keep going just a little bit slower. So there it is, folks. There you go. What do you think? Probably. Not a big deal, right? Not a huge deal at all. Yeah. I do want to talk about one last thing. So this whole crime statistic issue brought up in the debate. I want to make a point about something. That Joy Hofmeister made the comment about California and New York having higher crime. There are several points I have for that. Okay? But the first one is Oklahoma City and Tulsa are run by Joy Hofmeister Republicans, meaning Democrats, in the way that they govern. So that's the first thing. And that's where most of the crime is concentrated. The second thing is that the data she was gleaning from, 2% of California reported their crime data for 2021. 2%. 13% of New York reported their crime data for 2021 to the FBI, which is what they were using, the statistic. 81% of Oklahoma jurisdictions reported their data to the FBI, which is where they got their statistic. And there was one last thing I wanted to actually show you. Here it is. So look at this. This is the Consumer Affairs crime statistics. Oklahoma, California, and New York. The total score for Oklahoma is 40.7, so the lower the score, the better, right? Violent crime, lower, 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 much lower. 52.1 for California, 61.7, 40.7. Which place would you rather live, folks? Come on. And there's also this other point. How many Walgreens and stuff like that do you see being shut down in Oklahoma City or Tulsa because they're being robbed all the time? California specifically doesn't report crime anymore because they don't arrest people for it. So you can guarantee that there's a large majority of the crime that's happening in California and New York that just isn't being prosecuted, much less or even arrested. People aren't being arrested for it. So if Joy Hofmeister's mouth is moving, she's lying. That's what I've learned about her. I don't like some of Governor Stitt's policies, but the man pretty much tells it like it is. I mean, he really does. He doesn't lie. He pretty much just spouts it out. If he's talking. But everything Joy Hofmeister says is just not to be believed. So when she spits out that talking point and leftist Twitter runs it around, but I've told you for a while that Oklahoma is the bluest red state in the country. I sure hope I've been wrong about that. I sure hope I'm right about Governor Stitt not really having a threat to his election right now. But again, you cannot vote for anybody else but him. If you're watching me right now, and this is coming from somebody who's critical of him, if the race is close, and I'm wrong about that, which very well could be, voting for the Libertarian and things like that is going to hurt you a little bit, but you're an American. Do what you want. I'm just giving you my advice. But here's the thing. If he does win, we've got to hold his feet to the fire to do what he said he's going to do. He put out a video recently pledging to do more and stop the transition issue, well, he has to start at the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. Okay? That's where he's got to start. So you've got the information. That's all I got for you right now. To all those people that are mining my crap and have been mining my information and refuse to talk to me now that you think you've got it all, you don't. But you won't be hearing a damn word from me again. In private. So, there it is. That's all I got, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.